This is LXBN TV, and I'm Colin O'Keefe. And one of the biggest Supreme Court decisions in years, the justices ruled 5-4 in upholding the individual mandate in President Barack Obama's Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. To break down the ruling, we bring in Thomas Crane, attorney with Mintz Levin and author on their blog, Health Law and Policy Matters. Tom, can you explain to us what happened here and offer your thoughts on Chief Justice Roberts' reasoning here?
Sure, happy to, Collins. This is a very complicated ruling, and so please bear with me. First of all, the decision today reflects the polarization within the court. Fundamentally, you have the liberal bloc of justices on one side, and that would be Judges Ginsburg, Sotomayor, Breyer, and Kagan, who voted in a bloc in various ways. Not uniformly, and then the conservative group, including centrist Justice Kennedy, that would be Scalia, Thomas, and Alito, with Justice Roberts trying to navigate very, very difficult waters to thread together a decision which gave the Obama administration a victory, but it was a victory by the thinnest of margins. So bear with me. There was a majority. Justice Roberts joined with the conservatives who ruled that and what we're talking about here is the individual mandate. The other key decision part we're going to talk about is the Medicaid expansion. But the individual mandate was ruled unconstitutional under the Commerce Clause by a majority. But then Judge Roberts, joining with the liberal majority, found the individual mandate constitutional under the taxing power. And what's so ironic here, and I want to touch on Chief Justice Roberts' reasoning, is that the Obama administration, the Democrats in Congress, tried their very best to avoid this provision being characterized as a tax because they didn't want to see new taxes during a recession. But it was exactly that rationale that has saved the Obama administration by Justice Roberts and the liberals. And what's very important, though, and this gets to the thinnest of rationales, is what Justice Roberts said is that, he was looking out for overarching principles that have held the court in good stead for so many years. And one of them is really deference to a congressional act. And I know Justice Roberts, throughout his rulings, has felt very strongly that you only overturn a congressional act if you really must. So what he said was, it is only because we have a duty to construe a statute to save it from unconstitutional imperfections, if fairly possible, that he construes the individual mandate as interpreted as a tax. So in other words, what he really was saying is if there was another basis to uphold the individual mandate, he doesn't buy what he's really saying under the taxing authority. So it is very important to understand how thin the rationale under the taxing clause was. Just a little tidbit, legally, is that given that they upheld the individual mandate as a tax, many legal scholars are actually going to question whether the entire discussion under the Commerce Clause is what's called dicta. And it just really doesn't matter because they found this statute constitutional. And that's something scholars are going to really have to weigh into. So that is really the decision under the individual mandate. I'll get to the Medicaid provision in a few minutes because that's even more complicated to thread a needle on. But the main point is the individual mandate and the entire Affordability Care Act is going to go forward. You asked about the implications. There have been many businesses, many states, 26 states, who brought this challenge, who've really been holding back. Most of these provisions go into effect in 2014. That's actually preciously little time. And for most of them, it's going to be full speed ahead on so many of these provisions.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting seeing this, what happens next. This is going forward, but, what does this mean in the immediate near future for businesses and for individuals? Possibly even lawmakers are thinking about repealing this, but what's in the immediate future, and what does this mean now?
Well, I mean, clearly the conservatives in Congress are going to look to avenues to repeal it. It's unquestionably going to probably motivate the conservative base in the election to support candidate Romney. So we'll see it unquestionably have a very significant political ramifications. As far as businesses, they need to make a decision in the next few months whether they should continue to provide healthcare benefits or whether they can just look to the ACA provisions and maybe dump those benefits. And obviously for individuals, there are going to be these new exchanges where people who can't afford and will not get subsidized health care will get a menu of options, and seeing how these exchanges get implemented is going to be there's going to be a lot of energy spent over that in the next year until the 2014 implementation date.
Mm-hmm, certainly, and that's going to be very fascinating to watch in the coming years. And then finally, with the individual mandate getting much of the attention, we almost forget that there were major Medicaid issues at play here as well. What happened there, and what does that mean going forward?
Well, this is actually, to my mind, and primarily I'm a healthcare lawyer, I think this is going to have very significant implications as far as how far Congress can go in not just Medicaid, but other federal programs that give money to states in using the state grant of money to basically leverage that spending. And there's some new lines here that are going to be very important. And I think this part of the ruling is going to be picked apart in the coming weeks and months. So let me just tell you how this plays out, and bear with me, because this is like all of it pretty complicated. So Chief Justice Roberts, voting with the liberals, said that the Medicaid expansion, as far as new money for states to subsidize health care for individuals up to 133% of the poverty level, that is constitutional and will go forward. Now, Chief Justice Roberts, voting now with the conservatives, said that the penalty provision said if a state chooses not to accept this new money, that this is an unfair, unconstitutional coercion, and that's the new part. So now this part of the opinion, Chief Justice Roberts is joined by the conservatives. The liberals, of course, thought the Medicaid expansion was okay. But the penalty enforcement, so if states do not want to take this money, they are now free to choose not to do that. Now, of course, by the way, the four conservatives on the court said the entire Medicaid expansion wasn't allowed under any circumstance. But we're going to watch, number one, to see of the 26 states that brought suit here, how many are really going to say we're not going to take this money, which, by the way, for the Medicaid piece, unlike the normal Medicaid federal sharing ratio, here the federal government is paying for the overwhelming majority. But several states have said, like I believe Arkansas have said, even the little we, like Arkansas, have to pay, that's too much and we're not going to do it. So we're going to see how that sorts out, and it could be a key provision of the ACA in expanding health care, the Medicaid expansion. For some states, it's not going to happen at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is a huge case. We now finally have the decision that we've been waiting for months, and then before the case took place, I mean, this has been a long time in the work. We have our decision, and now it's just watching what happens from here on out, and it's going to be very fascinating to see in which direction this decision takes our country. Well, once again, that was Thomas Crane of Mintz Levin and Health and Policy Matters. For more of his commentary, visit healthlawpolicymatters.com. And for all insight from LXBN authors on this decision, be sure to visit us at lxbn.lexblog.com. Just click on the Affordable Care Act tag associated with many of the articles on the front page, and you'll see all of the commentary coming across there. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks so much.